Hello, it's Fleur here from Rocks and Chains. So today we're going to have a go or tackle Jens Pind Linkage 3. So what Jens Pind Linkage 3 is it's a twist variation of a chainmail weave. So you can see it's a beautiful, very delicate weave, if you like. Two different sizes here. It does need an aspect ratio between about 2.8 to 3.2, 3.3. So it is very, very size specific. You can't do this weave with lots of different sizes of jump rings. So in these two cases here, I've got a 3mm inner diameter jump ring made on a 1mm wire, and this is a 3.5mm jump ring made on a 1.2 wire. Both have got aspect ratios of 3 and 2.9, so both work perfectly for Jens Pind linkage. It's a really nice dense weave, but I think it's probably one of my favourite weaves. I wear it all the time. I always have. So that one there, you can see that's mine there as it's worn in. I wear it all the time. It's such a beautiful, strong weave. It really is gorgeous, but it can be a little devil to start. Once you get used to this weave, it is a beautiful weave to do, and you'll want to make lots and lots and lots of it. But to start with, it can be quite difficult, and that's due to the size of the jump rings that you're using. So we're using jump rings that are quite tiny, okay? So that's why it is difficult. Now on my website, I do have a kit for this, for both of these. So I've got one for the slightly slimmer one, which is a 3mm, and one for the 3.5 on the 1.25 wire. Okay, the 3mm weave will come with a starter weave. So you'll get in your kit a starter weave as well as like a PDF tutorial. You'll get a starter weave in 3 different colours, because it's so much easier to learn this weave in 3 different colours, because obviously you're then connecting one jump ring through the previous 2 colours, so it is easier when you start with for 3 colours. So I'll give you the little starter weave, and you'll get enough jump rings of each colour to add into this and then to start it again. Okay, so you may want to just use a starter weave all the time and not bother with starting it from scratch. That's absolutely fine, but you can, if you want to, start it from scratch. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to show you how to start it from scratch now. Okay, so I'm just going to move that to the side. So things that we're going to need our 2 pairs of pliers, either your chain nose or your flat nose. In this case, I've got bent nose and chisel nose, which are my favourite pairs in the world. I've just got a little bit of scrap wire. I've got a knotting awl or another scrap piece of wire just to help you pick out which jump rings are next. Okay, so I've opened up some of my jump rings, and I've got them in my 3 piles. Now, in the starter weave, the colours that they go, it starts at red and then goes to gold and then goes to black. So they're the colourway that you're going to work with. So we're going to do the same in this now. So what I'm going to start with is I'm starting with 1 single closed red jump ring. Now we're going to start with a Mobius, but our Mobius is going to lean up and over to the left. Okay, so we've got 1 single jump ring. I've got my next colour, which is my gold, and what I'm going to do is I'm going through the red jump ring and close, and then sit that on top, so it's sitting like it would do as a Mobius. And then I'm going to take my next jump ring, which is my black jump ring, and go through both of those to create that Mobius ring and close. So I've now got all 3 colours there, so you can see they're stacked. So the red is underneath, then the gold, and then the black. Okay, so what we're going to do now is, if I just get hold of the gold and the black and leave the red loose, I'm going to take my little piece of wire, I'm going to go through just that red jump ring and just twist it around. So what I've got now is I've got my red jump ring, my gold, and my black. Okay, so we can see the black one was the last one to go on because that is facing forward. Okay, so remember how they were stacked before. we've still got that kind of scenario. Okay, so what I'm going to do now is I'm going to turn this so that the red jump ring is facing horizontally. Okay, so I've used all three of my colours, so now I'm going to go back to my original colour, which is red. So I'm going to pick up a red jump ring. Now this jump ring is going to sit in the gap of the last two, because each jump ring in Jens Pind Linkage has to sit through the last two jump rings. So it's sitting through the last two jump rings, and I want it to sit on top of the previous red jump ring. Okay, so once that's in, you can then maneuver it so it's sitting. There we go, come on, focus. There we go. So we can see now it's sitting on top of the previous red jump ring. Okay, I'm just gonna pop the light up a little bit just so you can see a little bit easier. Okay, so I've now got my two jump rings. So my next colour is gold, and I know it's gold because I used red and then black, so it must be a gold one that's next. And what I'm looking to do is I'm looking to make, just sort that back out, and I dropped it. I'm looking to make chevron patterns. Okay, so what I want to do is this jump ring has to go through the previous two jump rings. Now my red jump ring is pointing down, so this gold jump ring is going to sit underneath the previous gold jump ring. So we can see now that I've forced it up into a diagonal pattern. It's going to sit underneath that. It has to go through the last two jump rings, and as it comes out, it's sitting on top of that gold jump ring. So it goes in underneath the jump ring and it comes out on top of the jump ring. Let's get that to focus. There we go. And close. Okay, so that's our gold one in place. So my next jump ring is a black jump ring. Now if we keep this here, we can see these gold jump rings are pointing down, but we can see that this single black jump ring needs to point up to create a chevron. Okay, so we're going to pick up our black jump ring. Now we know it has to go through the last two jump rings in order, so we can see those are a gold jump ring and a red jump ring. So just here where the black jump ring is, it has to go through that gap. So it goes underneath on one side and comes out on top on the other. Okay, so I'm going to pop this jump ring in place. There we go. So it's come out on top of the previous black jump ring, and it's gone in underneath. Okay, and close. Now technically this now is like your starter weave, so you've got two of each colour in and it's quite stable. So my next colour, going to the red. Okay, so I'm going to pick up my red jump ring. Ready? So if I look at my red line, you can see it here. Okay, and they're pointing up from the bottom left to the top right as I'm looking at it. And these black jump rings are pointing down from top left to bottom right. We know it has to go through the last two jump rings, so we're going to pop it into that gap. And we can see that then goes through those last two jump rings. I'm just going to focus this a little bit more. There we go. So it's gone through underneath that last red jump ring. It comes out on the top of that jump ring and it's connected the last two together, so we know it's correct, and close. Okay, so we're now going to look for our gold side. Now sometimes you have to just roll it a little bit and just have a look at each side. Okay, so those gold jump rings are pointing down, so I could put it in there, but it would have to sit on top of that gold jump ring. So if I just roll it round so I can see the gold again, they're now facing upwards. So one side is facing downwards, one side is facing upwards. I always prefer to put it in when it's facing upwards. Okay, and then as it comes out the other side, you can see it's on top of that previous jump ring there. Okay, so we can see it's on top there, but it went in underneath on that side and close. Okay, and my next colour now is a black jump ring. Pick that jump ring up. Okay, so I'm looking for the black side. So this black side, they're pointing down, and my red jump rings are pointing up. So I could, if I wanted to, put it in that gap there, as long as it sits on top. What I'm going to do is I'm going to roll it around till I can see that it's pointing upwards. Okay, and I'm going to push that into that gap, picking up those last two. It goes in underneath, it comes out on the top and close. And there you can see that you've got those lovely chevrons all the way around. Okay, so we've got our red jump rings pointing up, so that one would be pointing up. So we can see there, they're all pointing up. My black jump rings are all pointing down. Turn it this side now. My gold jump rings are all pointing up. My red jump rings are all pointing down, or they're stacked on top of each other, pointing down. Okay, so that is your weave. As long as your next jump ring goes through the very last two in the weave, and it sits either underneath or on top following the pattern. So in this case, my next jump ring is going to go through this gap here. Okay, so it's going to go through there, sitting underneath this red jump ring, going through that gap. You can see that it's gone through the two because they're crossed over there. As it comes out, it would come out on top of that previous red jump ring. So you can see where that knotting all is there. Okay, so if you're using a starter weave from the kit, I always finish these starter weaves with the black jump rings. So the first jump ring that you're going to put in is the red jump ring. So your order is always red, gold, and then black. Okay, so I can see my red line. You can see they're all pointing upwards. So I'm going to pop that jump ring in. It goes underneath on one side, on top on the other, and close. Okay, I'm looking for the gold side now. So picking up my gold jump ring, having a look for the gold side. So those gold ones are pointing down. So I could, if I wanted to, put it on top and go through there. But I always like to, like I keep saying, I always like to find the line that's pointing up. So it's always opposite. Through the last two jump rings, and there it is coming out on the top. Okay, and close. And I'm just going to finish this one with the black jump ring, and then that's like my trio finished. Now, like we were saying before, there's nothing wrong with starting from a starter weave all the time. You don't have to make, you know, a weave from scratch every single time. If you've got a little starter weave, it is always easier and quicker just to start with that starter weave. So I'm just going to move those jump rings out of the way underneath so that you can see properly. So there you can see, there we go, we can see each side are all stacked nicely as we go around. So what we would do, if we were going to start with our sterling silver or whichever metal material you're going to work with, you would just start, count back two jump rings, there's one, there's two, and there's your first connection through. Okay, so starting when you're working in a single solid colour, it's not scary. You just keep looking for that, count two back, make sure it goes underneath the third one that's in the sequence, and you'll end up with a beautiful bracelet like this. It really is a stunning bracelet. So that's your Jens Pind Linkage 3. If you have any questions, either leave them in the comment below. I'd love it if you could subscribe to my channel. And if you want to be notified of any other new videos that I put onto here, hit the notification button. So it's a little bell that's just underneath. Hit that button and it will let you know when I post another video. But until next time, thank you very much.